Welcome, friends. I am back for episode 7. Today, I'm going to be debunking manifesting myths. If you haven't already listened to episode 2, which is all about magnetic manifesting versus force manifesting, I highly recommend you go back and listen to that episode first. I touch upon the 4 stages of manifesting in that episode, which will help you better understand some of what I'm going to share today. I want to debunk these myths because I feel like a lot of people kind of give up on their vision and co-creating the life they desire because of these myths. And also, what I see happen a lot with mainstream manifestation is that people take whatever they're learning from these mainstream teachings and make it mean something about themselves and end up spiritually bypassing. So let me dive into debunking some of these myths by sharing a story with you of my own journey of deepening my understanding of manifestation. So, like I've shared in other episodes, I have been into manifesting since I was 5 years old. My mother studied metaphysics, and she just taught me a lot of this, the woo side of manifestation through metaphysics, law of attraction, and the universal laws. Now, in 2009, she passed away suddenly. And during that time, 2 years prior to losing her, I was going through questioning what my life was about. I guess you could call it an existential crisis, but we won't judge it. I was kind of, in a place of like, there's got to be more to life than this. My life looked pretty good on the outside, but something on the inside was just out of alignment for me. So after she passed away, I was feeling obviously, going through the pain of grief. And maybe about 6 months, 6 to 9 months after she passed away, I went to a yoga event at a yoga studio, and there was a life coaching doing a presentation there. And I never had heard of what a life coach was. And I ended up signing up to work with him. In the 6 months that I worked with him, my life completely changed. And that was in 2009 into 2010. So life started to get better and better, even though I had just lost my mom and had also gone through some really big transitions right after I lost her. I'll spare you all the details, but I went through some health issues and, just all these things that compounded losing her, compounded the grief. But still, life was like taking off. It was like, wow, who knew that I can actually be the conscious co-creator, right? Then in 2014, I started to not feel well. I started to just like, I don't know what was wrong with me. I was going to doctor after doctor, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. In 2015, I went again through another big life transition. And I, from that point on, I felt like I was in a downward spiral between really 2014 and 2018. What ended up happening was over that period of 4 years, I went through more transitions than I can even have time to share with you guys here. But the biggest transition was my health. I was going through a health crisis. Still, yeah, 2.5 years in from 2014 on, we still were trying to figure out what the heck was wrong. I really was very tired, very what's the word I want to use? I don't want to use the word negative, but I was very, yeah, depressed. I'm just going to say it. I was depressed. And I am innately an eternal optimist. And by that time, I had already become a certified life coach. I was already a certified yoga teacher. So I had all of these tools that I tried using to get myself out of that hole I was in. But for some reason, I just wasn't getting out of the hole. This is all going to make sense in a minute. even though I was like, oh, I must be depressed, something must be wrong with me, no matter how much I tried to use the tools, the personal development tools that I had in my toolbox, none of it was helping. So in 2017, yeah, like maybe to end of 2016, entering into 2017, I found a functional medicine doctor. Let me go back for a minute. As I was feeling really sick and depressed, I was very much in a state of surrender. The one thing I didn't do was judge myself for feeling the way I did. Even though I wanted to feel better, I didn't judge myself for feeling like crap. And what ended up happening prior to me finding the functional medicine doctor was that I started to get what I call downloads or intuitive nudges from a higher intelligence, guiding me each step of the way to the silliest things like read this book, talk to this person. Then I would talk to the person and they would suggest something, and I would go and follow that nudge, and so on and so on and so on. So it was as if all of these pieces of a puzzle were being given to me one by one, and it was up to me to put the pieces together. The way I put the pieces together was by trusting and moving in accordance to the guidance. Let me say that again. The way I was able to put the pieces of the puzzle together was by trusting and moving in accordance to the guidance. If you go back and listen to episode 2, this will totally click for you because I talk about stage 3 and 4 of manifestation. And this is what was happening during my healing journey. I was being called to elevate from stage 2 manifestation, which is by me manifestation, which is what most of you are doing, and why you're falling prey to all the BS stories that you have to be positive and that you have to feel good and all this stuff. I was being called into that stages 3 and 4, which you probably are being called to those stages too. You just couldn't put a name to it. So as I was putting the pieces of the puzzle together of my healing journey, something I realized, and this was of course in hindsight, was that in spite of me feeling like absolute crap, laying on the couch, depressed, and barely functioning at this time, I was working a 9-to-5 job. So you can imagine that it was pretty difficult for me to show up to that job, on top of which I was doing the job of 3 people and very stressed out. So it was just compounding on my health crisis. Anyway, during this time, I noticed that I was still manifesting some really amazing things. And I was like, how is this possible that I am like being a walking Eeyore and yet still manifesting some pretty great things? Fast forward, I'm still on my healing journey. I'm now going to Dr. Joe Dispenza retreats. I had studied with him like maybe 2 years prior to this, before he even became a household name, and began to understand the link between the mind and body connection and really diving down the neuroscience rabbit hole. But then I started going to his retreats and just deepening my my wisdom and my education in neuroscience and in the mind and body connection. That was when I realized that, oh, okay, I'm not so much manifesting from trying to manifest, but I am now manifesting differently. At this time, I did not have the languaging around the 4 stages of manifestation. That came later. Fast forward to 2017, I by now had found a functional medicine MD who was very open-minded and was very much willing to partner with me and listen to me on my healing protocols, because he understood that only I am in my body and can actually be the sort of the compass so that he could work with that compass in order to help me heal. I hope this is all making sense. So it was a really cool synergy because he worked with me. He really listened to me. He took an innovative approach. When I would come to him and share something I wanted to try with my healing protocol, he was completely open to it. So the way it worked was that I would have the downloads for my protocol and I would share it with him, and he would say, okay, let's try it for a certain period of time, and I will run the tests to make sure that we're on the right path. That was what was so cool about the synergy that I had with this doctor. So anyway, so that started to happen. Again, that was another manifestation. And by 2018, at the end of 2018, I had gone to my regular primary care physician who did all of the tests, and all of my numbers were back to normal. Oh, let me preface it by saying, before I say all of this, I had been diagnosed with 5 autoimmune conditions. The functional medicine doctor was able, through a bunch of tests, was able to find that I indeed had 5 autoimmune conditions. That's how come we went on that path with my protocol, and we started to set me on the straight and narrow with a healing protocol that worked. But again, it was a lot of trial and error. So in 2018, and I'm a little bit all over the place here, so bear with me. I had gone to my regular doctor. He did the test. By now I was feeling so great. And when he ran the numbers, he was like, everything, all your numbers are normal. Especially I had Hashimoto's, which my numbers were through the roof from what the range is, and they were back to normal. So it was really amazing. After that, or prior to 2018, to the end of 2018, when I had gone to the doctor in the summer of 2018, I released my toxic job. That was, again, another manifestation that the universe kept trying to show me the way, that I was no longer meant to be there, but I kept holding on to it out of stubbornness. And once I released it, I was really able to focus more deeply on my healing journey. And then, sure enough, at the end of 2018, I had been, they call it remission. I call it healing. I was fine from the 5 autoimmune conditions. And then after that, I, again, went deeper into the rabbit hole of studying the mind and body connection. And a lot of my healing had to do with releasing emotions stored in the body that I really accumulated from all of the life transitions after losing my mom. So I was holding on to a lot of dense emotions, a lot of density in my body that was creating blocks. And so my body couldn't functional at its highest level of homeostasis. Why am I sharing all of this? Because so many people think that manifesting is about being positive and not being, not having negative thoughts, not having life happen to you, always being happy, and it all being about rainbows and butterflies. And I am living, walking, breathing proof that that could not be further from the truth. There is something definitely to be said about the emotions that we hold that are stored in the body, and something really powerful that occurs to our magnetism when we work on releasing these dense emotions. But that doesn't mean you don't get to have negativity, let's call it, because that's what they call it in mainstream manifestation, or you don't get to have a negative thought, or you don't get to have a bad day, or you don't get to have bad feelings or triggers or reactions about something, because you are a human being. And that's what my journey taught me. That's what 4 years of, walking through the fire of my healing taught me, and manifesting during that time, which I manifested so many great things, including my healing. I manifested the perfect doctor to work with. I manifested my first 10K month. I manifested my soulmate puppy. I manifested my place at the beach that I love so much, that I now get to, call home. Um, so many great things. And I was miserable. I didn't judge myself. I didn't beat myself up over feeling the way I did. I still loved myself and accepted myself. Love might be a strong word because, like I said, I was situationally depressed because of how I was feeling. But this is your reminder that you don't have to be positive. You don't have to be happy go lucky all the time to manifest what you want. Life will happen. Everything comes with duality. Your desires, your hopes, your dreams, your joys, there's a flip side to that. And if you're feeling the flip side of it, or if you're going through a difficult moment or a dark moment right now, I am here to tell you that you still get to manifest an amazing life, a magical business, in spite of feeling the way you do. The key is for you to notice where you might be believing that you have to be perfect or that you have to be all positive, and not accepting yourself fully and wholly. And thus, you're creating resistance. Because when we don't accept ourselves and when we don't accept the duality of the light, which is the shadow, and we think we have to fix it and we think we can't have what we want unless we are rid of it, then we are actually creating resistance. Please rewind and go back and listen to this part of the podcast. I cannot tell you how many people are actually creating a kink in the hose that I have been speaking with lately because they are believing that they have to be perfect and that they have to be fully healed and that they can't have a bad day and that they can't have bad thoughts. That's not true. That is not true. You get to have your human experience fully, all of it, the shadow and the light. All right? So please, please, especially if you're going through a dark night of the soul or a depression, well, first of all, I really urge you to get the help that you need. That is number one. And number two, please, please do not bypass these feelings, these thoughts, these emotions. Sit with them, allow yourself to feel them, let yourself go through it. Don't judge yourself for it. And most importantly, continue to believe that no matter what is going on in your life and no matter how you feel, you still are worthy and able to create a different outcome in whatever area of life that is for you. Understand this. The one thing I truly believe that helped me to manifest my healing was that I accepted where I was at. I didn't judge it, but deep down inside, I had such a strong knowing that I would heal. I had such a deep belief that the same intelligence that created my whole body would help me to heal. That's what kept me going. And that's truly why I believe I manifested my healing. And I was open and receptive to the people in the 3D reality that I needed to be to help me on my journey, like the functional medicine doctor, like Joe Dispenza's teachings. Okay? So whatever you're going through, whatever you're trying to manifest, understand that you do not need to be positive. You do not even need to write affirmations. I love all these tools. They help us, yes, but you don't need to do a vision board if you don't want to. You don't need to, you know, to do all those things that the mainstream teachings tell you to do. Most especially, you don't need to be positive all the time. You get to be human and you get to manifest an epic life and whatever it is that you desire by simply loving yourself, accepting where you are, and trusting and moving accordingly. I hope this episode helped you, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.